We will now call to order the hearing of the Senate Committee on Energy, Economic Development, and Tourism. Today is April 12, 2021, and it's 3 o'clock agenda, and we are in room 224 and via video conference. This meeting, including the audio and video of remote participants, is being streamed live on YouTube. You will find links to viewing options for all Senate meetings on the live and on-demand video page of the legislature's website. In the unlikely event that we have to abruptly end this hearing due to major technical difficulties, the committee will reconvene to discuss any outstanding business at a later time, and a public notice will be posted on the legislature's website. For the people participating remotely, all testifier audio will be muted and video disabled until shortly before it is your turn to testify. If there are temporary technical glitches during your turn to testify, we may have to move on to the next person due to time constraints. We appreciate your understanding and remind you that the committee has your written testimony. My name is Vice Chair Bennett Misalucha, and with me in the room is our fearless leader, our chair, Hawai'i. I know we are expecting other members who will be joining us shortly. So moving on to the 3 o'clock agenda. The first item on our agenda is HCR 137 HD1. And this is requesting the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism to complete or to compile a short list of Fortune 500 companies that are suitable to relocate to Hawaii and identify means and incentives to entice these companies to relocate. We received 3 testimonies. The first one is from DBED, Mark Ritchie, for comments. Is Mr. Ritchie available? Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, aloha, Chair and Vice Chair. Mark Ritchie from DBED. We'll stand on a written testimony offering comments. Thank you.
Thank you. We also have received from 2 individuals, Cheryl B. and Regina Gregory. Both are opposed to this measure. Members, any questions? Senator Wakai, go ahead.
Mr. Ritchie?
There we go. Yes.
So, Mark, when we first saw this reso that came through our side, Dennis was mentioning that this thing was going to cost $250,000. Now, in your testimony, it's $50,000. How come the big discount?
Oh, I think, unfortunately, I was unable to hear the session you had and the discussion you had with Dennis, but I think what he did is we came back and basically kind of lowered how elaborate this report would have to be. And so we kind of used a sharp pencil and came up with the 50,000.
Okay. Is there any way, I mean, because this reso, maybe it's too involved with the language now, but wasn't aimed at identifying and then figuring out like what's the red carpet that has to be laid out to get potential companies here. Just kind of finding out where's the low-hanging fruit. And if we found that there was none, then that's okay. But we found out that there was some, then we would go take the next steps as to what's the regulatory environment, what's the tax structure that would be needed to kind of put a package together to entice a big company to come here. So if we whittle it down to just having your office identify just that potential low-hanging fruit, right? Because we're not going to be manufacturing cars here. We're not going to have oil rigs setting up shop here. But if we can dwindle that 500 down to, let's say, 20 potential companies, is that something that's going to cost you 50 grand to come up with a list for us?
Well, first of all, I think to sort of start out with the strategy around this, you know, Hawaii is a very unique place in sort of a positive and negative way. And you're correct in what you're saying is we're not going to be probably manufacturing cars. So I think a lot of this work could be done internally in DBED, looking at our assets, what type of companies would be interested in those, and kind of go by sector and try to come up with a short list. And what the money would probably, we were thinking, be used for would be sort of the next step in trying to maybe possibly work with site locator firms or kind of research firms to get more clarity on what are going to be the main factors that we could use to try to attract some of those companies, and put some of those in a report that would be due to the legislature, before the end of the year.
Okay, so if we didn't want something that was quite that comprehensive, and we just stick with the first part, the part that just simply identifies potential companies that could be headquartered here, without the second part, which was the meat of it for the cost element, which was to put together what exactly is it going to take for us to bring in whatever the company might be. If we just have you identify the low-hanging fruit, could you do that with current staff?
Yes, we could probably do that with current staff. Yes, there would probably be no guarantees in how to attract them, as you say, but in terms of what their most important things that they're looking at. But we could kind of look at Hawaii's assets and who would be those companies that might be naturally attracted to Hawaii or interested in Hawaii. And I ask one question too. I think we're looking at sort of Fortune 500 companies, but are we also looking at foreign companies, such as companies from Japan or other parts of the world besides the U.S.?
Oh yeah, if you could do it for free, let's do it.
Okay, because we have, on the one hand, we don't have a very well-oiled program for investment attraction. Sometimes we sort of back into it with companies, wanting to inquire about our enterprise zone program and things such as that. But we have done events with JETRO and looking at Japanese company attraction to Hawaii, because I think there's a lot of sort of goodwill and interest in that area.
Yeah, and if we see a big Japanese corporation that wants to have its North America or America headquarters in Hawaii, I think that would be fruitful as well. There was a lawmakers conference in Tennessee 2 years ago, and I was startled at how many Japanese corporations have set up their headquarters in Tennessee. Nissan is there, Bridgestone, the tire company, is headquartered there. Komatsu, the excavators that compete with Caterpillar. Those three huge Japanese companies are all based in Tennessee. So to your point is, if we could get, I don't know, Mazda to set up their headquarters, maybe that's not a good one because we're not into manufacturing, but maybe a Japanese bank to set up its American headquarters here, that we have done exactly what we want to do with this measure. Because, you think about the Chamber of Commerce, and they always talk about how small businesses are the backbone of our economy, and 92% of businesses have less than 100 employees here in Hawaii. And at a certain point, to me, that's not something to be proud of. Maybe we should go after a medium-sized or a large-sized company, so it's not that heavily weighted for a small company. So that's what this bill is trying, or this resolution is trying to do, is to look at potential for us to get a big corporation, mainland or otherwise, to set up shop here, so that we have more medium and larger companies here rather than just purely almost all small businesses here.
Would you also be looking for just sort of recommendations, though, in this report for kind of next steps? I mean, okay, here we have a short list of potentials, but then what are the next steps for us to try to actually put together a program to attract some of them, and what are some of the issues and things that are going to be, sort of the tipping points with some of these companies?
Yeah, great. As long as it's free, just do it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, we can do the best we can. Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Okay, moving on to the next item on the agenda, HCR 161 HD2, supporting and adopting the goals set forth in the Digital Equity Declaration for Hawaii, adopted by the Broadband Hui. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have received 9 testimonies, predominantly in support of this measure. And we had received testimonies from Office of Hawaiian Affairs. We also have Bert Lum. Bert, go ahead.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. My name is Bert Lum. I'm the Strategy Officer for Broadband. And DBED stands on its written testimony in showing support of this resolution, and I'm definitely available for any questions that you might have. Thanks.
I love your background, Bert. Where is that milestone marker found?
That's in Waimanalo.
Is there really such a thing, Hawaii Broadband Hui there?
Looks like the road running
I'll
out.
put that in the dirt over there. No, that's actually a little bit of work in Canva. Canva is a cool application
yeah.
that you can
Yeah.
add some graphics into your photos.
No, I love it.
That's what I use. Yeah.
It gets the message across. How's that? Good advertising.
Well, see, that's the things we can do with digital equity.
There you go.
Bring those digital
Point well
technologies
taken.
to rural Hawaii.
I'm sure something that Brooke Connor also knows a lot about from the Department of Education. Go ahead, Brooke.
Aloha, Vice Chair and Chair. The Department of Education will stand in front of Pu'u Waiana out of my window instead of the backdrop of
Reality.
Waimanalo. But we'll stand on our written testimony offering support as well as a couple of comments particular to the department.
Excellent.
Thank you very much. Here for questions, of course.
Thank you. Christine Sakuda for Transform Hawaii Government. Go ahead, Christine.
Aloha, aloha Chair Wakai and Vice Chair Mizalucha. My name is Christine Sakuda, and I'm the Executive Director of Transform Hawaii Government. And we stand in strong support of HCR 161 HD2 in the declaration. And I just wanted to note that the Digital Equity Declaration is the result of a big collaboration between many stakeholders within the department and also within the community that really speak to the need of having a digital equity declaration to really keep it a priority, especially as we head into our digital economy and make sure that everyone has access. So thank you for the opportunity to hear this resolution and for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you, Christine. I think we need to underscore that, the collaboration and the tremendous work that was infused and in the process of coming up with this declaration. Members, any questions, concerns, comments? Okay, we also have received other testimonies in support. Eric Abe for Hawaii Primary Care Association, David Miyashiro for Hawaii Broadband Hui, Lynn Otaguro and Noel Kent, all in support, and Colleen Ross Bainick opposed. Any other questions or anyone else on Zoom who would like to testify? Okay, hearing none. Thank you, folks. Appreciate it. We're going to move on to our third item on the agenda, which is HCR 84, requesting the Hawaii Community Foundation to convene a working group to develop a public-private partnership model to prepare for Hawaii's post-pandemic recovery. We received two testimonies, one from Charlotte A. Carter Yamauchi, testifying for Legislative Reference Bureau with comments, and also from the Hawaii Community Foundation represented by Micah Kane. How are you, Micah? Aloha.
Good, Vice Chair. Aloha. Aloha, Chair Okai and Vice Chair. Thank you for the opportunity. I'll basically stand on my testimony, but did want to just make a couple of comments, if I may. I think this reso was born out of a recognition of a lot of good work that happened during the pandemic across multiple sectors, government, philanthropy, industry, nonprofit community. Many organizations came together during the crisis and built some really good muscle out in the community and was able to do collectively a lot of good work. And we're hopeful that we can build on that muscle and rather than operate in a crisis, perhaps look at taking on some issues without boiling the ocean, take on some issues that really can build our muscle to advance our state forward. And we're not here to say that we can solve that problem, but are willing to try to bring a group together and to see if we can bring some focus and build upon the muscle that I think was built during the pandemic.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Vice Chair.
Comments? Go ahead.
Yeah, Mike, I really appreciate the Community Foundation stepping up to do this. And even before the pandemic hit, I mean, we were all setting up for that change framework that you kind of just spoke of. How do you envision, it's not like as if we're going to reinvent the wheel with this new reso and you following up with it, right? You're just going to change the change framework a little bit to help address some of these pandemic issues, or are we talking about two separate projects for Community Foundation.
No, that's exactly right, Chair. I really appreciate you bringing some clarity to that. It's exactly that. It's really to just bring some more focus to what we already started. I think, you know, the launching of the 2020 session really brought a lot of hope for a lot of people when the House, Senate, and the Governor's Office, along with industry, nonprofit philanthropy, was standing together, focused on three really important inequities in our community: access to early learning, affordable housing, income inequality. And, you know, I think the public was really energized around that. Unfortunately, we were hit by the pandemic, and perhaps, you know, we have an opportunity to bring the same energy back to the focus of those three issues, or perhaps a focus on just one of them. You know, I think there's a lot of good leadership in the LEDs that we can capitalize on, and we'd like to take advantage of that.
Micah, I'm not sure if you were able to read the testimony from LRB and that their desire to work with you.
Yeah, I was not able to see that testimony.
Yeah.
I'd love to see it if I could.
Okay. Essentially, they submitted comments to say how they need to be able to work with you on this measure, particularly in providing the necessary background materials.
We look forward to that opportunity.
Okay.
It's not going to cost you any more money, is it, Micah? We don't want money to be the stumbling block.
No, I mean, you know, it's the work that we try to do in community. I mean, Chair, what I'm really afraid of is the misperception that we're trying to, we just don't want to, we want to be seen as being where we need to be to help move Hawaii forward. And it's the work we will continue to try to do. And so it's the work we come to work to do, Chair. So it's not like it costs us more money because we're going to be spending it someplace else. And we just think this is a good use of that time to really bring together key stakeholders who have been working together over the past year and a half. And we think there's something there to capitalize on.
So Micah, have you determined in your estimation what this public-private partnership model is going to look like?
I think we saw examples of it, Vice Chair, again, back in 2020 when industry, philanthropy, and government came together around those three areas. People were putting up resources, leveraging resources. We were unconditional about the outcome we were trying to have. And we had a plan. And I think we want to see more of that going forward, perhaps with a bit more focus, knowing that we have a lot more distractions in front of us.
What I particularly like about, I think in your testimony, you alluded to how you're wanting to cast a wide net to seek additional resources outside of the state, perhaps some private funds or foundations that hopefully infuse some additional resources, so it's not just depending on government to provide the resources.
Yeah, we saw in the pandemic when you can tee up opportunities that can help identify ways in which we can operate differently to change systems and perhaps help people at scale. Hawaii has the ability to attract some pretty interesting partners. We saw that with the Mackenzie Scott gift. We saw that with, you know, millions of dollars, quite frankly, of funds coming from outside our state based on, you know, strategies that showed them that government, industry, and the nonprofit community was working together. And as a result of that, you know, funds came. And I do believe that there are funds on the sidelines that there's no guarantee in this, but I do believe Hawaii is in a very unique role because of our, you know, we're the world's, you know, biggest village. I mean, in some ways, you know, we're very small. We're a very small market, but we have big city problems. And we have, I think, a unique competitive advantage to model solving some of these challenges, whether it's affordable housing or early learning issues, access to early learning. I really think we have an advantage to model these issues. And if we can position it that way, you know, we have a much better shot of attracting outside investment as long as we're willing to share that. And it puts us in a leadership role. And I really think we have the inherent benefit, competitive advantage to do that.
Thank you. Members, any other additional questions? Okay, hearing none. Thank you, Micah. Appreciate it. We wish you well. Okay. I think we're going to go into recess, short recess. IT, please. We are returning now and calling to order the hearing of the Senate Committee on Energy, Economic Development, and Tourism. This is the 3 o'clock agenda. I'd like to recognize the presence of my colleagues, Senator Chris Lee and Senator Riviere. So we are on HCR 137 HD1. The chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments, and we will include a reference to multinational corporations, and then exclude and add verbiage to exclude natural resource companies, non-renewable energy companies, and impracticable manufacturing companies from the short list. Chair Wakai, would you like to take the vote, please?
Can we have some discussion first?
Sure, go ahead.
So I really appreciate DBED willing to do this now for free, because members might have remembered maybe 2 weeks ago when we had a similar resolution. The figure started at $250,000. In the testimony today, it went down to $50,000, and in the testimony at this hearing, it went down to 0. So thank you, Mark, for being willing to do all of this work for whatever your salary is and your staff salary. I think that's shows a really collaborative sign that they're willing to help us chase, if possible, some corporate money to help improve our economy. So just wanted to.
How can they say no to you? You know, you're just a
They
strong
always do.
negotiator.
They always do.
Okay, go ahead. Please call the vote.
Okay. I will vote yes. Senator Misalucha.
Aye.
Senator Lee.
Aye.
Senator Riviere.
Aye.
Senator Favela is excused. Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you. Moving on. HCR 161 HD2. And the chair's recommendation is to pass as is. Chair Wakai, please call the roll.
I vote yes. Senator Misalucha.
Aye.
Senator Lee.
Aye.
Senator Riviere.
Aye.
Senator Favela is excused. Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Third, last but not least, is HCR 84, requesting the Hawaii Community Foundation to convene a working group to develop a public-private partnership model to prepare for Hawaii's post-pandemic recovery. The chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. In the preamble, there would be an additional language, be it further resolved, and we will change the language to include, be it further resolved that the Hawaii Community Foundation and the Legislative Reference Bureau are requested to provide assistance with research, report preparation, and drafting. In addition, we propose making some technical, non-substantive amendments for the purposes of clarity, consistency, and style. Members, any comments, any additional questions? Hearing none, Senator Wakai, please call for the vote.
Sure. I vote yes. Senator Misalucha.
Aye.
Senator Lee.
Aye.
Senator Riviere.
Aye.
Senator Favela is excused. Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. That concludes our 3 o'clock agenda. Mahalo everyone for participating. Aloha.